I don't ever really feel inspired. With my OCD, it's like my brain's always fighting me for reality. It's always pushing against what I want to do or worry about this. It's always trying to stop me. Except when I'm writing. My brain hooks in and it's all of a sudden, it's one of these weird moments, and that's when my mind and I are sort of walking hand in hand down a path, and it's just so exciting and interesting where we're gonna go together. Turns of phrase I never thought were possible. But it takes a while to lock into that and feel like you're riding that wave. Okay. Oh, it's gonna smell like Trident gum in here. That's just because there's gum in here. You want some? Let me unwrap this thing. I make my own Word document prayer books out of computer paper and duct tape and make little stuff you can fit in your pocket. It relaxes me, but the books are really bad. There's a joke about how many I make, and I give them to friends who don't want them, and then they tell me, you know, you gave me a bunch of these already. I'm like, yeah, here's another one. And then, there's a joke. It's an old jangly truck. It's a gift from my dad. My little sacred space, like a traveling chapel. I caregive and I do chaplain stuff, and I'm out and about. I could stop, I can pray. This is where I do the other bulk of my writing. If I'm between things and I have 20 minutes, I'll pull out my phone, crank some Sufjan Stevens, and this will be my writing office for 20 minutes. You know, you make do. I like driving, because driving's like, life has meaning and purpose because you're heading towards it. Like right now, for reasons mysterious to both of us, we are going to McDonald's. Like that is the promised land. That is the beatific vision. That is that is the final boss. This is where our journey ends. All things will culminate at McDonald's. You know. Yeah, that's bad because it's not. A cheeseburger is a common grace at best. I always knew when I was a kid, or even just when I started writing stories, that like I always had a mind that was generating possibilities, jokes, turns of phrase, interesting observations, kind of off-center glances at the world. And so I always knew my mind was doing that. I didn't always join it to the activity of writing. Welcome to my house. I make this sound when I go to my writing. I stomp upstairs. This is my space. This is where I write. I stopped writing for a long time because I thought I was going to be this other thing. I thought I was going to be a pastor, and I thought a pastor had to do these other things. And then when my mind went south, I was like, the only thing to do was write. You ever seen like Jurassic Park? Frozen in Amber is how bad I was doing for 3 or 4 years. And it's like, what do you do with that? I feel a lot better than when I wrote the book. And as an artist, I'm like, oh, like I would do this art differently now because I am in a more hopeful place. And I'm not trying to advertise.
That's the part I'm gonna include, yeah.
But you know, when they first shipped me this thing, and they were like, here's your book, and I was looking at it, and I was like, who the hell wrote this? Like, who does this guy think he is? And I think an artist is always seeing themselves twice. Like, here's a great sentence, and then here's how I think about it now. And I was like, this guy thought he just was the best thing that ever happened to the English sentence, you know. And so you look on it and you like cringe, and then you have to take time and be like, okay, I wrote the bulk of this 4 years ago. I've grown, I've changed, but I wrote it in a place where it was just a really raw thing I was going through, and I just need to respect it. The person who was going through that is who wrote this, and to let them exist. But I have to live with it because it's still my book. I wrote this thing, no matter good or bad, it's the thing that I finished. Like, I finished a thing, and that's important. It was important for me to see that I could finish a thing. So I'm like, well, I guess it needs to have its own life. A lot of people may talk about having a mental illness, which is what I wrote my first book about, is you don't feel like yourself, felt like chaos. I wrote it the whole time while I was getting better. And within 3 years, I was like, I have a book's worth of things here. And it seems like there's a journey being traced in the book. And if I move the pieces around, it becomes a story instead of a bunch of journal entries. I wonder if this is a memoir. And I was like, well, I guess it was. And but I didn't know that. I was just writing to feel better, and then all of a sudden, the writing was helping me make sense of my life, and it was helping other people talk about their own life. I'd always been kind of anxious, maybe in my thoughts a lot, but all of a sudden, it was like my brain had turned into like a monster, and it just turned on me. It was really scary. My brain became like a wild animal to me. It's a book about what it's like to find out that I wasn't just anxious and depressed, but that there was a word for it called OCD, learning how I was going to live now with this wild animal that no one could see, but that I was living with, and then learning how to reconcile with that, and how to know that it's not going away. Like, I'm going to have to, this is the brain I have, and I'm going to have to find a way to live with it. I tell people, if I don't write, I lose track of me, and I need me to do the stuff I do. I need to know how I'm feeling. I need to know what's important. I need to know what I'm grieving or what's on my mind. So some people think of maybe writing as this sort of leisure activity, and for me, it was much more about survival. If I wanted to have a self, I had to write to have a self to work with in other parts of my life. It was maintenance. It was maintaining a sense of self when life felt really chaotic. So I guess that's why I write. My mind, for all its vulnerabilities, can actually be harnessed to do some really cool stuff, at least stuff that's really, I find really beautiful, or really at its best, really helpful for me. You get in these flows and you're just like, I never want to stop writing, it's so great. And then you want to stop writing, and then your brain's like, wait a minute, we were having fun. You're like, yeah, but we gotta cook dinner, we gotta do the dishes, we have other things to do. It's weird. Writing's like the best part of my life. And sometimes the hardest thing is actually sitting down to write. And then the hardest thing is to stop writing. It's like, that's a weird thing. The two places that I love going, when I got a minute, in between things, I go to Ollie's, and then I go to the second floor of Bosco's. It's all the stuff that, it's like the graveyard of capitalism. It's all the stuff people thought was gonna sell and didn't. And then it's where it ends up. It's the twilight zone for consumerism. It's all the strange things we hoped would work out and didn't. You feel like you just walked into some hidden chamber of life. Here this thing is, I had no idea. You just walk around, look at all the things no one wanted. And you wonder, why did no one want this? And he's like, oh, who would want a Jolly Rancher flavored Pop-Tart? Nobody. So that's why it's here. I don't know why I like it. It's the most relaxing thing in the world to me, is to walk around and look at junk and wonder about it. I think there's meaning in things that we throw away, or things that didn't make it, or that got discarded. I love discarded things and wondering what to make of them and what they can be repurposed as, or I like dumb jokes and bad art and discarded things because I think there's a sincerity there. There was an attempt to make something even if it didn't work out, or to be a thing even if it didn't work out. And I like seeing other people's failures because then it makes me feel like I can play my accordion or write something where I can go smell a candle that no one wanted. Root beer flavored candle, no one wanted. There it is. You know, take a sniff. Get a Diet Coke. Go home. Lie down and write a manuscript.
Wrap it up. Full circle. There you go.
Full circle. We did it.